Hey everyone, time to get into this process costing stuff with numbers. Okay, so you know what? Let me move myself up and out of the way. I'm going to need as much space as we can get. All right, so I'm going to show it to you my way. The book has it set up a little bit differently, but if you do it my way, you will get all of the same answers, obviously, right? I'm just teaching you a different way of attacking it a little bit. Why? Because I like my way better. All right, so let's take a look at what we're dealing with here. We've got inventory in process on July 1st. This time we're definitely making ice cream. Inventory in process on July 1st, 5,000 gallons. All right, so that means there's currently in a whip somewhere 5,000 gallons of ice cream. And in that cost, there's already $5,000 worth of material, $5,000 worth of materials, 5,000 gallons. They made it easy, $1 a gallon. And they've got conversion costs. And that ice cream is 70% complete as far as direct labor and factory overhead, which are conversion costs. Okay, so now here's the thing, right? This is what you're currently working on. It's already 70% complete when you came into the month on July 1st. And that's because, you don't end the month and then halt all operations. They keep running. So on July 1st, you have material or ice cream on the floor in the factory being worked on. Okay, then during the month of July, you added another 60,000 gallons worth of materials, which is 66,000 in cost. You've got direct labors for the month of July, direct labor for the month of July, and you've got factory overhead for the month of July. So the total production costs are 90,000, right? This is the beginning stuff, and this is what you added during the month: direct material, direct labor, factory overhead. So what it's asking you for is what was the cost transferred to the next process, to the packaging department in July, and they tell you that you completed 62,000 gallons, went to the next process. And currently in the process, there's 3,000 gallons of ice cream. So I mean, at the end of the month, there's still 3,000 gallons that are left that are being worked on. And they're 25% complete at the end of the month. All right, so they're giving us a lot of information here. Whenever I get a lot of information, my favorite thing to do is make a T count. Oops, hang on, let me undo that. Sorry, my first time using this particular pen. All right, here we go. All right. So you've got a whip. This whip, I don't even think they tell you what they cancel. It goes to packaging, but I don't think they ever tell you what it's called to begin with. But it's a whip. The idea is we're trying to figure out what the costs are that get transferred to the next department. So that cost transferred in concept. All right. We start off, we've got a beginning balance of $62.25 in costs. And we have direct materials we added of $66,000. We have direct labor that we added of $10,500. And we've got factory overhead. Sorry, I got cut off a little bit there. Factory overhead of $72.75. Okay, so what they're asking us for here with these question marks is they're saying, what was the costs being transferred to the next process? And what is the dollar amount left in ending inventory? All right, which we know is 25% complete, but we don't, and we know it's 3,000 gallons, but we don't know the dollar amount. Okay, so I think of this like a four-step process. The first place we're starting is we need to figure out three categories. We need to figure out what was in our beginning inventory, what was our ending inventory, and what did we finish? What was started and completed during the period? Okay, so let's put this into, we'll put a little one here for step one. In step one, we've got this whip, and I want you to realize that at this point, right up here, we're dealing with dollars, right? This was all the costs. Right now, I want you to look at it a little bit differently. I want you to look at it like it's gallons. All right, so if you look at it that way, the beginning balance was 5,000 gallons of ice cream, right? 5,000 gallons. And it tells us that 60,000 gallons came in during the month of July, right? So there's 60,000. And you really don't even need to be told that information for this problem, but they do. Okay, they tell us at the end, there's 3,000 gallons still being worked on that are still in process. So you've got 65,000 in and 3,000 at the end. So the question is what did you finish? How many gallons got transferred to the next process? Well, it's 62,000, right? 65 minus 62 is now 3,000. Okay, so that wasn't so hard. Kind of. In this 62,000 gallons, though, that got finished during the month of July and got transferred to the next process, the first ones you finished was this 5,000. So really, if you think about it, the first ones, you finished that 5,000 that you had been working on July 1st. Those are the beginning balance ones, right? We finished these guys first, and then the other 62 minus 5,000, the other 57,000 gallons, are what's called started and completed. Okay, started and completed. You started them during the month and you finished them during the month. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to do this, right? Figure out what was started and completed, what was the beginning balance, and what's the ending balance. And we need those three categories. So we need beginning, we need started and completed, and we need the ending balance before we can move on to the next step. Okay, so those are the three pieces. Like I said, I like to see it in a T account because I think, for me, that just works. I like the visual of a T account. Okay, so those are the units that we transferred out to the next process. All right, so now looking along, let's go on to our step 2 here. Our step 2 is now going to be to assign costs to these three categories. So we're going to start off, we've got the beginning ones, beginning balance, the 5,000. We've got started and completed, 57,000. And we've got ending balance ones, 3,000. Okay, now the reason we're separating this way, if you think about it, the ones that you came to the month already partially done, these guys were 70% complete. They only need a little bit more conversion costs, 30%, in order to finish them. These guys that we did during the month that were started and completed, they needed all of their materials, all of their labor, all of their factory overhead, because you did everything for them during the month. And these guys down here in ending balance, you just started them. You haven't finished them yet. You'll finish them in August. They end the month only being 25% complete. So really they need like another 75% to finish those off in August. So each one of them is a different cost to finish them. All right. These are what's called whole units, if you remember the first page of our notes. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at something called equivalent units. Okay, so we're going to break them into two areas. Direct materials, and actually probably a little bit short on space here. Not the prettiest thing. And conversion costs. Remember, conversion costs are both direct labor and factory overhead together. All right. So what we're doing, let's see, direct materials. Now, they don't tell us this in the data you have here, but this is the case for all the problems that we're going to be working on. Materials are always going to be added for our purposes at the beginning of the process. So if you think like a giant vat of ice cream, you're dumping all the materials in right at the beginning, right? That helps. So these ones, this first 5,000 gallons, they came into the month, we had already started working on them. So if that's the case and materials are added at the beginning of the process, they don't need any more materials. So they need 0 materials. 5,000 whole units times 0% gives me 0 direct material equivalent units. And that's what these are. These are equivalent units, EU, for direct materials. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Started and completed. You did everything for these this month. All the work. So if that's the case, they get 100% of the direct materials. That's 57,000 units. These guys that you started, but you haven't finished them, they're also going to have all of their materials because you started them. If all the materials are added at the beginning of the process, that means they have all their materials. So the total equivalent units for direct materials is 60,000. That's direct material equivalent units. All right, conversion costs. Conversion costs, these guys came into the month, they were already 70% complete. So the question you're asking yourself is, how much more did I need to do to finish them during the month of July? Well, during the month of July, I had to do 30% more work in order to finish those first 5,000 units, which is 30% times 5,000 is 1,500. The ones that were started and completed, they got everything done for them, right? So they're 100%. 57,000. The ones that we started but we haven't finished, the ones that are in our ending balance, it says during the month of July, they're 25% complete. So we're always focused on what happened during the month we're looking at. Right? During the month we're looking at, we finished these, we did all of these, and we started these. We did 25% of the work. So 3,000, 25%, you're looking at 750. So we add all these together, we've got 59,200, that's a 9. 59,250 equivalent units for conversion. Now, why do we do this? It's because they require different dollar amounts to finish them. Like these first 5,000 already came into the month with $62.25 in costs. So the idea is they need a little bit more conversion to finish them. These guys needed everything. And these we just started. So they had all their materials and a little bit of conversion. Okay. So now we got to start looking at costs. Kind of step 3 here is how I like to think about it. All right, step 3, direct materials. We're going to look at those first. We're going to start, everything so far has been units and gallons, right? Now we're going to start applying the dollars. So the first thing we're going to look at is what the cost of the direct materials were added during the month. During the month, it was $66,000 of direct materials. So we've got $66,000 divided by the number of equivalent units during the month. So right here, 60,000. So the direct materials cost during the month was $1.10 per equivalent unit. Conversion. We're going to do the same thing. But remember, conversion is 2 things. It's labor and factory overhead. So we're actually going to look at those 2 together. Oh, that kind of messed that up. Let's do it again. We're going to look at the 2 of these together, which is really 17,775. So we're going to take total conversion cost, 17,775, divided by the number of equivalent units, right here, 59,250. Let's try that again. Which is 30 cents per equivalent unit for conversion. Okay, so now we're applying a rate. And we're saying basically, what does it cost us to finish these items? So now, step 4, final step here. Step 4, we are going to look at our 3 different categories again. We've got the ones that we started off the month with, the beginning balance ones. They already came into the month partially done. They already had some costs associated with them. So we're going to start off with a 6,225. And what we're looking at is what did it cost us to finish them. Well, they didn't need any direct materials, right? They had no direct materials, but they did require a bit more conversion costs. So if that's the case, the conversion costs, I'll do the math on the side here, was 1,500 equivalent units, right? That's what they needed to be finished at a rate of 30 cents a unit. 30 cents. So that is what, $450. So it cost us $450 of conversion costs to finish those items. So the total cost for those first 5,000 units is $6,675 when you transfer to the next process. Okay, so now we look at our second category, our started and completed. Well, they needed everything, right? So we're looking at this and we're saying they needed 57,000 equivalent units at a rate of 110 for direct materials. 57,000. Oh, you know, let's do that a little differently. I want to do the math on the side for you here. 57,000 equivalent units times 110. That's the direct material piece. And that comes out to be $62,700. And there we go, beginning balance, starting completed. And they needed their conversion, 57,000 times 0.3 conversion. That comes out to be 17,100. So the total cost of finishing those units is 79,800. Okay, last but not least, the ending balance ones. We started these, but we haven't finished them, all right? So we're going to grab the fact that they have 3,000 equivalent units, right, at 110 a piece for direct materials. All right, which is $3,300. And they had some conversion costs. They have 750 equivalent units at a rate of 30 cents each. Conversion. And that winds up being $225, which is $35.25. All right, that's kind of your last step. So what you've done is you figured out what it cost you, what did the first 5,000 units cost you, what did the 57,000 units cost you, and what are the costs going into August on those ending balance ones. That's $35.25. So really this number is kind of like this number from the previous month. You know, what cost did you come into the month with? All right, so now kind of just to prove that this all really works out, I wonder if I can do an eraser. Let's see. I have no idea how to do an eraser. Oh yeah, there, look, have an eraser. Here, let's get this out of the way. Just to kind of show it to you. Back to my pen. All right. So now, what it asked you for in this problem is it asked you what the costs were for the 62,000 gallons. That would be the 66.75 and the 79,800. And what is the cost of the ones remaining? $35.25. So now just to see that, these were all the costs before. And we're saying 66.75 went to the next process. That was for the first ones we finished. 79,800 went to the next process, right? That's from here. They went to the next process. So if I were to add up this side, subtract these guys, I should wind up with a total of $35.25. I'll let you check my math, but I'm pretty sure it's right. Okay, so the problems may be listed a little bit differently when you go to do it for homework, but if you do these 4-step process, you will have all of the answers in front of you. You just kind of have to pick it off. Like I said, it's going to ask for this. Well, that's this and this together. It's going to ask for the ending balance. Well, that's this ending balance. So it just may be laid out a little bit differently, but the information is there. All right, go to it. Good luck.